So, one of the complaints I hear from some men, not all, but from some men, is this idea that women don't want to build with somebody. They want this ready-made man. They're not down to be in the trenches with this man. They just want the benefits after he's established himself. And quite honestly, I think it's a bunch of BS. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I think there are certain scenarios and circumstances where it's perfectly okay for a woman to build with a man from the ground up. I'll throw one of those circumstances out right now when you're really young. Okay? High school love, maybe early college. All right, then it's much more understandable. But I don't think this is a really good approach for grown adults. Okay? But I'm gonna talk about this from both angles, young and grown, and this idea of accepting struggle love and trying to date a man for his potential. All right? A lot of women have gotten themselves in trouble with this. Now, I am in no way dismissing the fact that have some people been successful with this? Of course. But if I told you that 1 out of 1,000,000 people who put all their savings into lottery tickets won the lottery, would you go put your savings in the dang lottery, right? No, just because someone has had success with it doesn't make it a good approach. The reality is that for every successful story of dating a man's potential or struggle love, I could give you 1,000 more of disaster, of dismay, of emotional damage that has now had ongoing repercussions for that woman. All right? So let's break it down, because I know just saying that isn't enough. Let me fully explain why I am not in agreement with this whole dating for his potential. And right off the bat, the first point I want to make is that sometimes potential is a figment of your imagination. So listen, I think there's an argument to be made that everyone has potential. Like, everyone has this potential of reaching a higher level in life, so to speak, right? And evolving as an individual. But the reality is that in life, many people never meet that potential. Many people don't strive for more than what they are at the moment. They don't tap into that greater self. And there's various reasons for that. And sometimes they don't even see that within themselves, but we'll get more into that later. But the point is, you meet this man, he seems like a good dude, he's down on his luck or he's struggling at the moment, and you believe in his ability to become something more. But you have to ask yourself, am I tapping into his vision, or am I projecting mine onto him? All right? Because this is where a lot of conflict is created. Because you have women taking that figment of their imagination, making it a reality to them, and now expecting for this man to reach there, and also believing, well, because I am this amazing woman, I can take whatever he has and I can multiply it and I can get him there. Now listen, I'm in no way saying, let me say it differently. I believe that the right woman for a man can magnify what he has. I believe in that. But notice I said magnify what he has. You cannot magnify what he does not possess. You cannot magnify what he is not willing to embrace and grasp. And so you have to start with, what is his vision? What is his perception of success in life? Where would he find his happiness? So let's put it in a more specific context. Let's say, for example, you ask a man, like, what's your vision of success? What's your vision for yourself? And for him, it's like, hey, I would love to be a plumber, right? I think I'm good with plumbing and working with my hands. And if I was making $75,000 a year, I'm good. That's my happiness. That's my vision of success. Now listen, you might say, but no, I think you can be better than that. I think you could own a plumbing company. And I think you could be making hundreds of thousands per year. You're tapping into that perception of potential. But again, it's the potential you're projecting onto him, not the potential he's embraced for himself. He's telling you, I will be happy at 75K. He is telling you, I will be happy working for someone. If you now put higher expectations on him or force that on him, because I'm going to be real, some of these situations, the woman is forcing it on him. You are likely to find yourself in a situation where, once he reaches his own perceived desire of success, his motivation, his work ethic will take a hit. Because he doesn't really want it for him, he may only be trying to do it for you. And when we don't want something for ourselves truly, we are not going to be as passionate, as consistent, as focused on getting it done. Okay? And more specifically, when achieving it is hard. Yeah, if it's easy, then that's a different story. You know what I'm saying? I can do things for you that make you happy when it's not really an inconvenience to me. But when we're talking about things like this, well, it requires a lot more work. It requires a lot more sacrifice. And that's where things are going to start to waver. Not to mention that if he does not achieve your projected potential of him, you will not be satisfied with his level of success. You will not be happy about where he's trying to stop and be comfortable at. So now, even though he's able to provide in a sense, he's able to pay some bills, so he's not like a liability in your life, so to speak, in the sense that he can't take care of himself. But he's a liability in the sense of the lifestyle you were trying to live. He's a liability in the sense that he's not doing what he needs to do that you feel will allow you to be able to experience the things that you want in your life and in your relationship. And so now you will have resentment. You will have negative energy. You will have tension, and things will only go downhill from there. And understand that it starts with that. Let's say that resentment from him not achieving your perception. I'm going to keep repeating that. Your perception of his potential. And then it spills over into other areas of the relationship. So essentially, just to give one example, you're losing respect because you think he should be better than what he's achieving, what he's pushing for. And he doesn't want to do it. And so now you're frustrated. And what happens is now you become less sexually receptive to him. You become less turned on by him. Because listen, if you don't respect the man, you're not going to be turned on by him. Plain and simple. And so now you're going to have more headaches when it comes time to getting it on. You're going to be more tired. You're going to find some more excuses. Or even if you do it, you won't be that into it. So now what started with resentment in one area turns to issues in another area. And so now there'll be a frustration because his desire for you to engage with him sexually more often will be viewed as an annoyance. And he will now build resentment towards you because you don't want to engage as much, or you're not engaging as much as you used to. And he doesn't understand that it's gone down because your respect for him has gone down. So we're not going to dwell too much on this one, but the point is, you really got to remember that, are you tapping into his belief of his potential, or are you projecting it onto him? All right, so another reason why you should avoid struggle love, because essentially struggle love and dating for his potential go hand in hand, or date a man for his potential, is because ultimately, you should not have to be his motivation. And let me rephrase that. You shouldn't have to be the person that pushes him. Okay? So what I mean by that is this. There's nothing wrong with a man using his love for you and his desire to make you happy and pour into you as part of his motivation to achieve more. You know, there's nothing wrong with him saying, yo, I do this because I want to provide this for my woman, right? But when you have to be his motivation in the sense that you have to push and pull and drag him to that point, this is a problem. All right. So again, it starts with, does his vision and your vision line up together? Because if they don't, this is where all things start to fall apart. And so now, using that example of you want him to own the plumbing company, he just wants to be the plumber. Well, you will find yourself in a situation where you constantly have to be on him. You constantly have to push him. There's some situations where the woman, in even less simpler dynamics, has to go as far as finding the job for the man. So I can't tell you how many situations I've seen where woman's dating a man, he's out of work, and he doesn't even get himself up to go apply. No, she puts together the resume, she goes online, she submits the resume, she is finding the man work. And then you'll have situations where she's finding him jobs and the man's like, nah, I don't like that one. Nah, I don't like that. Like, he's shooting down the opportunities she's even trying to present. It's like, dang, you're not even doing the work to find it. Then you want to be picky. Beggars shouldn't be choosers in this type of situation, but yeah, you're being super picky. And then when you do go on an interview, because you're not really serious about getting the job, the man here, you bomb the interview. You don't take it serious because you're not truly invested in it. So here's the thing. The man has to be motivated enough within himself to want to invest in the process of it. Because when we don't have to invest, we have less respect. We give it less value. All right. And we're a lot more likely to just not care when things don't work out because we didn't lose anything. And for that man, if he is not generally pushing himself to do the work to make things happen, there's a problem. Now listen, there's nothing wrong with you being a moment of motivation, right? But I want your motivation to more so be encouragement, not just flat out doing for him. Now, it's one thing, let's use the resume scenario. It's one thing if the man is getting up and submitting, let's say 50, and I'm just throwing out a number, I'm not saying you have to submit this many, but let's say he's submitting 50 resumes a week, right? Or a day. And you as a woman say, you know what, I want to help my man, so I'm going to submit 50 more. That's fine. Because you're not doing the work for him, you're enhancing the work he's doing. That's what's good. So you want to ask yourself, am I enhancing, am I adding, am I multiplying the efforts that he's making, or am I simply doing the work? You know, there's an analogy I like to use when people talk about this whole building together. I always say, like, some of these men, their version of building together is if you have this construction site and the woman and man are going to build a house, the man comes there and the woman brings the tools, the bricks, everything, and that man got him a lawn chair and a glass of lemonade. Sitting back, watching you lay the bricks, watching you dig the holes and lay the cement or whatever the case may be. And they got the nerve to tell you missed the spot. Or got the nerve to tell you got to do this better. That's what some of y'all are dealing with or had dealt with, or God forbid, will find yourself in. But I'm hoping you watch this video, you won't go down that path anymore. And if you are in that situation, time to make a change. But the point is, you should not be the driving force. All right? You should only be complementing his already self-motivation and the efforts he's willing to make. All right, moving along. Another reason why I'm not a believer in dating his potential and why you need to avoid struggle love is because ultimately you cannot control what this man does. So again, one of the issues with the struggle love, the dating his potential, is that in many cases, you are dealing with a man that has not developed his own work ethic. Okay? And that's why you have to be very careful and mindful of, am I working with a man who has the character already in place, who has the foundational pieces already in place, and I'm enhancing that? Or am I trying to even put that into him? All right. Or again, just do it for him. And so a lot of men don't have that work ethic. And so essentially you're either going to find yourself doing the work or begging, pleading, hoping he will finally step up and do something. But you can't control that. And that's why it's so important that he shows you that ability first, beforehand, for you to consider going on this path with him. He has to show you that he can be consistent in his efforts. He has to show you that he doesn't mind making sacrifices. And I stress the word sacrifices because I think that one of the biggest reasons why people don't find success, of course, there's a plethora of issues, and for some people, certain things are outside their control. But for a lot of people, and if I'm honest, I'd have to even say most people, what they lack is a willingness to make certain sacrifices. Okay? So, for example, you'll have some guys who they want to spend their money on video games, new shoes, whatever, rather than cut those desires off and use that money to invest in their business or use that money to invest in themselves. Use that time that they give to having quote unquote fun and actually putting in the work. I'm going to use this personal example, even though I kind of don't want to, but I don't know why I feel like I need to. Like, I remember when I was going through the process of building myself up as this relationship coach, as an author, I went through, I want to say, a couple years of not going out at all, not taking any trips, not going out, not buying new clothes, all with the mindset of, I need to push all of that into what I'm trying to build. I need to push that into the purpose God has given me and work on that. And yeah, I wasn't having fun. Yeah, it wasn't the most pleasant experience. It was a grind, but that's what it takes in most cases to reach success. You would have a very difficult time talking to any successful person that doesn't have a story of making sacrifice. Okay? So that could be a personal lesson, but that's also a lesson for what you need to evaluate when you are dealing with these men who want you to accept their potential and build with them. And I think a great question to ask them is, what are you willing to sacrifice? What lengths are you willing to go to build? Not to mention, this is also coming to me now, is what do you view as my role in this process for you right now? What are you looking for me to do? Because some men will tell on themselves. Some men are going to tell you from the jump how much they expect you to do so much of the work, if not all of it. You know what I'm saying? Again, I always say, you let someone talk long enough, they will expose themselves in most cases. So you want to ask questions rather than just jump on the idea of, no, I believe in him. I see all this greatness in him. I'm going to ride with him. He might ride you right into a ditch. So you got to be careful with that. But ultimately, you can't control what he does. So you've got to be careful of putting yourself in a scenario where that's going to become a huge problem for you. All right. So now the next one. And I think this is a huge one that a lot of women do not consider. And that is, can you respect him if you have to lead him to success? So let me give you a scenario. You'll have a situation where woman meets a man, he's down on his luck or he's struggling or whatever. He just hasn't built himself up yet. She goes for that struggle love. She goes for that dating for his potential. And let's say in this situation, they are actually able to produce success. Now, I want to be very specific. Though the success was produced, it was through a lot of her leadership, a lot of her pushing buttons, making things happen, doing the work. So it wasn't really this man putting it on his back and her just kind of encouraging and supporting. No, it was her really doing it and him going along for the ride. And now when he finally gets there, I have to mention this. The crazy thing in a lot of these situations, that man becomes successful and ends up leaving that woman. Not all, but we've heard it, we've seen it, okay? Because again, a lot of times he just went along for the ride because he knew you could get him there, but he wasn't with you for you, okay? He was with you because you provided the resources and the means to get to where he desired or would hope to be. But then, on the flip side of that, even when the man does not leave her, the issue that arises is that the woman doesn't actually respect the man because she will always feel like, I made you. I did this. I am the creator of your success. See, it's different when you can view it as, I poured into a man who put in the work himself. Because in that scenario, you can still respect him, you can still honor him, you can still revere him. You got to see his growth. You got to see how he pushed himself to this better place. So in that scenario, you can actually gain even more respect for someone because you got to see the whole process. See, that's different from just seeing someone successful. You don't know the grind they went through. But when you see what the grind that man went through, that can even add more to it, more love, more respect. But when you know there wasn't no grind for him, the grind was you. That changes everything. And so now you find yourself still unhappy with this man. You find yourself still being able to honor and respect him in the way that he will need. Because see, when he wasn't that guy yet, when he wasn't in that successful position, and you probably had disrespectful moments, let me tell you, they come out. The women in these situations, whether they realize it or not, them disrespectful moments come out. Because again, let's call it for what it is. To that woman, that's her son. And she gonna speak down to him like that's her son, right? But because he's in the position that he needs you, and he knows you doing the work, he has to take it. He accepts it. And honestly, he know he can't get this anywhere else. So he's going to roll along with all your disrespect. He's going to go along with your moments of lack of love, whatever, because you're frustrated, because you're drained. And I'm not even saying it to just like cast this bad light on the woman. It's just saying what actually happens in these scenarios. But now that he's successful, he ain't trying to put up with it no more. Now that he's successful, he got options. So one of the reasons why that man moves on to another woman isn't simply because he was plotting and planning the whole time to leave you. It's because the relationship has no quality, has no love. It was so based off of getting this man to this place. And what happens for a lot of women is they become attached to the investment they have made in this man. So now, even though it's an unhealthy, unhappy relationship, she doesn't want to walk away because she still wants a return on that investment. But for that man, he's not happy, but again, he has to go along. So again, this is one of those moments where I feel like I may need a whole different video just to go even deeper into this. But the point is, you really have to ask yourself, if I have to do too much, there's a line that gets crossed in what you have to do, the work that you put in, that can cause you to no longer respect the man the same. And you got to be honest with yourself about what that line is and express that, because this thing will not work out in the long run if it's crossed. All right, before I continue, I just want to let you know, go to my site, stephanspeaksshop.com. I'm going to put the link in the description in the comment section. There you can get tickets to the tour, my Heal My People tour that we're going to be doing. All right. And I'm touring every year. So when you go to my shop, you'll see any events I'm doing, be able to get tickets, my books, courses, coaching opportunities, you name it. It's all there, plus free offers. So check it out, stephanspeaksshop.com, or click the link in the description or in the comment section. All right. So we got some more to go over. And this one might punch some of y'all in the gut, but you know, I love y'all. And it is not to make you feel bad or hurt your feelings. It is to awaken you to a certain reality, to give you the truth that can help set you free. Okay? And the other reason why I am so not in favor of dating for his potential is because some of you may do it to hide your own insecurities. So here's what I mean. You know, there's this idea that when a woman is willing to date a man who's down or who hasn't built himself up, that means she's really is into him or she really loves this man. And I'm here to tell you that's just simply not true. There's a lot of situations where women, out of a codependency, choose men who are going to need them. Choose men that they can fix and build up, because what they're looking for is emotional safety. What they're looking for is, if I have more value here because he needs me, then it creates this false sense of security that he will then respect, value me more. He won't cheat on me. He won't walk away from me. I'm much too valuable. He's lucky to have me. And that stems from insecurities a lot of times. It stems from a struggle with feeling that you have the value to bring to the man who is established and successful or has his stuff together. Okay? Whether that be insecurities about your emotional health, meaning, listen, you know, to give an example, if we know we have issues, if we know we got a lot of problems we need to resolve, it becomes a lot harder to be with a healthy person, because now that shines a bigger light on our issues. And so subconsciously or even consciously, we will choose someone who has a lot of issues themselves, because now it's like, if I had, and I'm just using the example to kind of help make this more clear. If I have, let's say, 3 issues, right? Finding someone that got 5 makes me feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm not that bad. They got 5, I only got 3. You know what I'm saying? It's a way to make us feel a little bit more comfortable about the situation. And it allows us to be able to point at their flaws and not just have our flaws constantly exposed. So the same thing can happen in the value that we bring to a relationship, because for a lot of women, for example, they've put their value in their resources, in their education, in their ability to be a go-getter and things of that nature, and magnify and multiply. So if you put your value in all these things and you meet a man who already has his stuff together, it's very easy for a woman to say, well, then how do I fit in here? What value do I bring here? And if I don't bring value here, then I become more expendable. Then I'm easily replaceable. And I'm just telling you, this is what a lot of women, where subconsciously or consciously, that's what's playing in their head. And so now it becomes uncomfortable and scary to be with the guy who has his stuff together. And it becomes easier to be with the fixer-upper. But again, that doesn't really work, because we should not be basing the foundation of our relationships off of, if I can fix him or I can feel more value here. It should first be off of, is there a genuine connection here? And understand that our value, and more specifically, the woman's value, doesn't come from the resources, so to speak. If it comes from the resources, then don't be surprised when a man uses you for those things. You know, it's the same way when men who have money and lead with their money then complain about a woman using them for money. It's like, yo, but that's what you led with. That's what you put your value in, is you being rich and being wealthy rather than who you are as a man. And so for a woman, if your value is in education, my own house, and this and that, well, then don't be surprised if that's what you get used for. Because that's where you're putting your value. But your true value is in who you are as a woman, your character, your spirit, your energy, the purpose God put in you. That's where your value is. And that guy who has his stuff together, if he chooses you, it's because he sees that value. And when you learn to connect with that, you will have more peace. You will feel more comfortable being with that kind of man, and you will be less likely to accept, I was going to say lower level guys, but that sounds kind of bad. But it's an accurate statement. Guys who you don't belong with. I'll put it like that. Guys who are not best for you. Guys who are projects rather than partners. And I need you to find your partner, not your project. Okay? So make sure you are choosing your man out of a healed place. Make sure you are choosing out of love and connection and not out of fear, because it is fear that has pushed a lot of women into these types of relationships. All right, we got a couple more to go. And the next one, and this is another, they're all big ones. So another reason to not date for his potential and avoid struggle love is because it can de-incentivize his willingness to become better and do more. So the reality is that a lot of men are wired to simply do whatever it takes to achieve certain desired results, okay? And you've got to understand what those desired results are to understand the mindset of that man and how much he's willing to push forward. So what I mean by the desired results is like this. If a man, going back to that original example of the guy who wants to be a plumber, he's making $70K, and let's go even lower than that. Let's go, it's not even about a specific amount of money. He just wants food on his table, a place to sleep, and a woman giving him sex and some love, okay? If he can achieve that, making $40,000 a year, living in a small place, there are plenty of men that they're stopping right there. That is the extent of their effort, because it is getting them the desired result, okay? If some can achieve, like let's go over it again, place to stay, food on their table, and a woman giving them some love and some sex. If they can achieve that with no job, there are men who are stopping right there. And there are plenty of situations right now, let's pray for these women, that they literally have a man with them who just lays up in their house, not working, comfortable as hell. No desire and motivation to do anymore. And the problem is, you getting with him before he has either learned how to, again, have a proper work ethic, learn how to become a man who handles his responsibilities, who takes care of things, who understands how he needs to show up in a relationship, you will basically take away the motivation to tap into those things, because he's getting what he wants already. He's getting his achieved, he's getting his desired results. And so that's where a lot of women get themselves into trouble. They make it easier. It even goes back to the whole thing of marriage. You know, I think one of the things people forget with what contributes to a decline in marriage is, one, this whole boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Because once upon a time, for a man to get the dynamic of a woman cooking for him, taking care of his children, feeding him, sexing him, all this stuff, that used to come, for the most part, only in marriage. At least to get it consistently, most of the cases, you had to get married to get that. Once we created a dynamic where men could get all of those things without marrying a woman, well, guess what? It de-incentivized a lot of men from bothering to get married. Now, if you have a situation where he can get that without having to bust his behind at work, it's going to do the same thing with those guys. Not every man is naturally wired to want to do more. Not every man has that level of ambition and motivation. And you've got to recognize what kind of guy you are dealing with. All right? And you got to make sure that he understands, if he wants the benefits of you, there's a level of work he has to put in. It reminds me, I've mentioned this story before. It reminds me of a scenario where I had a friend, and there was this guy who was interested in her. And he was like, when he came to her, no license, low paying job, baby mama drama. I'm trying to make this story real quick. So she was like, listen, if you want to talk to me, you're going to have to get your stuff in order. You're going to have to take care of this drama, better paying job, get your license, whatever. This man came back 6 months later. License, double pay from where he was working, No more baby mama drama. I think even got himself his own place. He got himself together. Now, she still ain't want him, but that ain't the point of the story. All right. The point is, if she would have got with him, if she would have became his girlfriend or even casually dating him, but provided the sex, food, and all that, there's a very good chance he never achieves those things. He just wouldn't be too comfortable. But by letting him know you can get this desired result, being with her, if you do this work, and you will only get to be with her after the work is done, he stepped up. And that's the approach that would be better. If you see the potential in the man, right? You can be a friend of his. You can encourage him through friendship, but he doesn't get to be with you until he does what he's supposed to do. All right. And to wrap this up, last but not least, the other reason why in the vast majority of cases, I would not advise you to embrace struggle love and dating potential is because at the end of the day, it just means you're settling. Okay. And I want to be just real quick and clear about this whole settling thing. I don't view settling as accepting less than you desired. Meaning, if a woman wanted a man who makes 6 figures, but she gets with a man who makes $70,000, I don't automatically view that as settling. Because if that $70,000 man truly makes her happy and truly is able to fulfill her true needs, then she didn't settle. She found where her happiness is. Okay? To give a different example, some people may say, I want a Lamborghini, right? But then they realize a lot of headache comes with that Lamborghini. And they end up getting them, another car, a Lexus, and they are so much happier in that car. Well, they didn't settle. They just found their happiness in something different. They tapped into what they really needed. So getting with a man who's making less, doing less, whatever, is not what makes it settling. It's, can you find your happiness there? Can you truly create a healthy, successful relationship with him? Does he fulfill the needs? It's not just what you thought you wanted, it's what you needed. And that's why you want to make sure that with any man you choose, with any situation you are considering getting yourself involved in, talk to God. Because if God tells you to embrace that struggle love, then by all means, I am not going to interfere, all right? If he tells you there's the potential here and he wants you to walk out this process while being in a relationship with this man, I'm not going to interfere. But I know for a lot of y'all, if you would talk to God first, he would tell you, hold up, it's not time yet. This could be the guy. He could be the right guy, but it's not the right time yet. So make sure you are going to God before you make your decision on how you're going to proceed. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. You know, sometimes in life, and I would say this happens to a lot of people, if not most people at some point or another, you'll meet someone and you experience very intense feelings with this individual. And